In this video, we're going to look at Integrated Science, Jesma 004, Section B. We've already covered Section A of this paper. So if you missed it, don't worry because the link is in the description below. So kindly watch it first and then come back so that you can continue with Section B. So Section A, it was a multiple choice question. We covered from question number 1 up to question number 30. And today we're going to dive into Section B, which is structured questions. Without wasting time, let us start. So classify the following change as temporary physical change, permanent change, or temporary chemical change. So A, heating a candle wax. B, heating copper 2 sulfate crystals in a boiling tube. C, heating ice cubes in a beaker. D, heating potassium manganate 7 in a boiling tube. So we're going to classify them. So the first one, heating a candle wax. So that is a temporary physical change. So when you heat a candle wax, it's going to melt and then it will solidify back. So it is a temporary physical change. So a temporary physical change is a change in which no new substance is formed and the process can be easily reversed. So that is a temporary physical change. Part B, heating copper 2 sulfate crystals in a boiling tube. So when you heat it, that is a temporary chemical change. And the reason is because when you heat copper 2 sulfate, it loses water of crystallization to form anhydrous copper 2 sulfate, which is white. So copper 2 sulfate is blue in color. When you heat it, it's going to change into anhydrous copper 2 sulfate, which is white in color. And this is a chemical change which can be easily reversed by adding water. So when you add water, it restores the blue crystals, and therefore we can say it is a temporary chemical change. So a temporary chemical change is a change in which a new substance is formed and the process can be easily be reversed. Part C, heating ice cubes in a beaker. So this is a temporary physical change. The reason is because when you heat it, it is going to change into a liquid, and then the process can be reversed by freezing. So it's a temporary physical change. Part D, when you heat potassium manganate 7 in a boiling tube. So this is a permanent change. It's a permanent change. The reason is because a new substance is going to be formed and the whole process is irreversible. That's why we say it is a permanent change. So that is how you can classify these 4 processes. Let us continue to question number 32. Draw and label an atom. So we're going to draw and label an atom. Know that an atom has the nucleus, the protons, neutrons, electrons, and the energy level. So here's my diagram here. So I'm going to label this diagram. So you draw this way, and then you label your diagram. So this is my nucleus. Sorry for that. So this is my nucleus. Sorry, this is my nucleus. That is my nucleus. I'm going to call it N for nucleus. And then these are energy levels. So this is the first energy level, the one I was pointing earlier, first energy level. This one is the second energy level. So these 2 are energy levels. So first energy level, second energy level, and the third energy level. Then here we have electrons. So here we have electrons which are negatively charged. So they are found on the shell, that is the energy levels. Then inside the nucleus, we have the protons and the neutrons. So that is how basically you can draw and label the structure of an atom. So let us continue to question number 33. Grade 8 learners from Karatina Comprehensive School saw a chart that shows the following. So here we have a chart. So you have ice, process P. So the arrow is going from water to ice. So the arrow is going forward. And then here we have water. Then here we have water vapor. So we can say ice is a solid, water is a liquid, and water vapor, we know it is a gas. So we're going to name these processes. So when water changes to water vapor, that is when a liquid changes to a gas directly, that one is called evaporation. When a gas changes back to a liquid, that process is called condensation. When a solid changes into a liquid, for example, ice changing into water, we call that process melting. So this is melting. And then, when water changes into ice, that is when liquid changes to solid, that process is known as freezing. So P is freezing. So let us go to the question. Name process S. S is when water changes to water vapor, that is evaporation. And then name process B. Process B, that is the water vapor changing back to water, that is a gas changing to liquid. We call it condensation. And we score 2 marks. So we continue to question number 34. Use a word equation to represent reactions of the following elements to form a compound. So a compound is a combination of 2 or more elements which are chemically combined. So when you have copper and oxygen, you're going to get copper 2 oxide. Then when we have hydrogen plus oxygen, you're going to get water. So these are the compounds which we get from these elements. So that is the answer for number 34. Continue to question number 35. It's not clear, but I'm going to read. Mr. Naman entered grade 9 classroom during an integrated science lesson. After 1 minute, all learners noticed this perfume was smelling all over. The process that took place was diffusion. Now that diffusion is the movement of particles from a region of high concentration to a region of lower concentration. Part B, explain how the process took place that the learners could smell the perfume. So that is diffusion. So how did it take place? Perfume particles moved from an area of high concentration, that is near Mr. Naman, to areas of low concentration where the students were, through the air by diffusion. So that is the explanation of how the process took place. So the particles moved from a region of high concentration, that is near Mr. Naman, to areas of low concentration through the air by diffusion. So we continue to question number 36. That 6 is saying, state the law of magnetism. So for magnetism, we know that like poles repel each other and unlike poles attract each other. This means that a north pole is going to repel another north pole, or a south pole is going to repel another south pole. But when you have two unlike, for example, a north and a south pole, they are going to attract each other. This is basically true even as for human beings. Is a basic law of universe whereby like gender repel each other and unlike attract each other. So for magnetism, that is the law. It says that like poles repel each other and unlike attract each other. So question number 37, state the function of the following parts in the excretory system. So the kidneys, so we have two kidneys, the left one and the right one. The function is to filter waste products like urea, excess water from blood to form what we call urine. The function is to filter waste like urea, excess water, excess salt from the blood to form what we call urine. Then we have the urinary bladder. The function is to store urine temporarily before it is excreted from the body. So that is the function of the urinary bladder. So we continue to question number 38. Hope you are still following. If you are new to this channel, please consider liking this video and also subscribing for more educational content. So question number 38 says, the mass number of an atom of element Y is 9. So the mass number is 9 and its atomic number is 4. Find the number of neutrons in the atom. So you know from this formula, this is grade 9 work, the first topic in chemistry. You know that the mass number A is given by the atomic number, that is the number of protons, Z, plus the number of neutrons, N. So this is the mass number, the atomic number, which is the number of protons, and N will stand for number of neutrons. So the mass number is 9, so we have A put 9. So 9 is equals to, Z is the atomic number, we are given here it is 4, so I'm going to put 4, plus N is the unknown, which the question is asking, find the number of neutrons in the atom. I'm going to do a very simple mathematics. I'm going to collect like terms together. So you can see I have positive 4 and positive 9. So the 4 goes to the left, then it becomes a minus. So N, the number of neutrons, will be 9 minus 4. And then I subtract 9 minus 4. I get that this element has 5 neutrons, and therefore you get 1 mark. Part B, what is the number of electrons in the atom? So we know that a number of protons is equals to a number of electrons. That's why we say that most of the elements are said to be neutral, because the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons. So if it has 5 protons, then electrons are 5. If an atom has 10 protons, then the number of electrons are the same, meaning it is going to have 10 electrons. So for this case, the atomic number is 4, meaning the protons are 4, and therefore the electrons is the same, and therefore it has 4 electrons. You get 1 mark. So we continue to question number 39. Define rusting. So what is rusting? A very common question. Rusting is the chemical reaction of iron. Chemical reaction of iron with oxygen and water, that is moisture, to form what we call iron oxide. The other name is rust. So rusting is a chemical reaction between iron, oxygen, and water to form what we call iron oxide, and the other name is rust. So for rusting to occur, then these 3 must be present, that is iron, oxygen, and water. So these are the conditions necessary for rusting to occur. So we continue to question number 40. Grade 9 learners carried out an experiment shown below to investigate the process of rusting. So we have test tubes with a pin, and then we have A, B, C, D, E, 5 test tubes. So here we have boiled water, layer of oil, and then a cork. Here we have tap water. In D, we have cork, and we have anhydrous calcium chloride. Then in E, we have salty water and that pin or a nail. So going to look at the question is asking, the question is asking, after 5 days, the learners went back to the laboratory to make the observations. So after 5 days, the learners went to the laboratory to make the observations. In which test tubes did rusting not take place? So they're asking which test tubes rusting never took place. So I can say the first test tube is B. I'm going to explain why. So there are 2. The first one is in test tube B, and then the other one is in the test tube D. So rusting never took place in these 2 test tubes, that is B and D. And that, what is the reason? That is the next question. It is asking, explain your answer in A above. So why did it not take place in B? So let us go back to our diagram. So you can see B here, we have a layer of oil, a cork, and boiled water. The reason for boiling is to remove dissolved oxygen in the water. And the reason for putting a layer of oil is to prevent the entry of oxygen. Therefore, we know that when oxygen is not present, then rusting will not take place. Remember we said for rusting to take place, we need to have 3 things, that is oxygen, water, and iron. So when oxygen is absent, then rusting is not going to take place. That is basically how you explain. So in test tube B contains boiled water with a layer of oil. Boiling removes dissolved oxygen, and the oil prevents more oxygen from entering. So rusting does not occur in test tube B. Let's go to reason why we chose test tube D. So here D, you can see we have anhydrous calcium chloride. The function of this is to absorb any moisture present. You also have cork to prevent entry of moisture moisture. So when you have anhydrous calcium chloride, it's going to absorb any moisture present, and when the moisture is absent, then rusting will not take place. That's how you're going to give your explanation for test tube D. So you get 4 marks for explaining why you decided to choose B and why you decided to choose D. So we continue. If rusting occurred, which test tube did rusting take place first? So if rusting occurred, so in B and D, no rusting. So we are left with A, C, and E. So A, C, and E. So if rusting occurred, then the test tube that the rusting will take place first is E, the one with salty water. And the reason is because, give a reason for your answer in C above, question number D. The reason is because salty water accelerates rusting due to the presence of electrolytes. which speed up the chemical reaction between iron, water, and oxygen. So when you see salty water anywhere, then know that it's going to accelerate rusting, and therefore rusting will take place first in test tube E. So we continue with question number 41. So here we have a diagram. The diagram below shows the internal parts of a leaf. So this is the diagram with the letters F, E, H, G, and Y. And then we have two questions A and B. So we're going to use this diagram to answer questions A and B. So the part labeled F is there. So here is the part, the F is here. So the part labeled F, this one is known as the palisade mesophyll layer, or other books call it the palisade cells. So going to write, this is known as the palisade mesophyll layer. So the name of part labeled F is the palisade mesophyll layer. So that is the name. Part B, the part labeled H is known as the dash. It contains dash and dash tissues. So you can see H is pointing here. You know what is inside. We have two tissues, the xylem and the phloem. So it contains the xylem tissue and the phloem tissues. So xylem basically transport water and mineral salts, while phloem on the other side transport food product. So it contains xylem and phloem tissues. These two combined, it is known as, so H is known as the vascular bundles. So the name of H is called the vascular bundles. So sorry for that, I'm going to write vascular bundles. Yes, so that is the name of the part labeled H. So here we have another part labeled Y. So you can see Y is pointing these two. This is known as the guard cells. The guard cells, they are guarding the opening. The opening is called stroma in singular. When they are many, we call them stromata. So that is for part A and B. You can see it is 1 and 3 marks. Those are 4 marks. So we continue to question number 42. The raw materials required for photosynthesis are dash and dash. So we know photosynthesis is the process by which plant manufacture their own food. So I'm going to give you something that will help you to remember and recall even in exam. So when cows see green plants, they go there. They go where green plant is. So the mnemonic is cows go. So you write cows and then go. So cows go where we have green plants. So cows to mean, so this is carbon 4 oxide. So carbon 4 oxide is a material for photosynthesis, and water is a material. So we have S to stand for sunlight. And then go, this is the end product. We get glucose and oxygen. So cows go. Carbon 4 oxide plus water, which are the raw materials. In the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, we get glucose and oxygen. So for 42, the raw material required for photosynthesis are, we have carbon 4 oxide. So I'm going to say carbon 4 oxide, carbon 4 oxide, and water. These are the raw materials for photosynthesis. Then 43, photosynthesis takes place in 2 stages. That is true. We have 2 stages. We have the first one, it is called light stage. And the second one is known as the dark stage. So we have 2 stages, light stage and the dark stage. So light stage, G, letter G. Light stage takes place in the granum, so G for granum. And then dark stage takes place in the stroma. That is how you can recall the 2 stages and where they take place. Number 44, water plus dash in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll is equals to dash plus oxygen. So remember, this is the equation of photosynthesis, and we have said cows go. So the materials are carbon 4 oxide and water are the raw materials, sunlight and chlorophyll. Plants are green, and this is due to chlorophyll. So sunlight and chlorophyll is the condition. We get glucose and oxygen. So I'm going to say water plus carbon dioxide. So I'm going to write here CO2 because of space. So carbon dioxide means, and the chemical symbol is CO2. So water plus carbon dioxide. In the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, we get glucose plus oxygen. So that is the answer to question number 44. But in exam, don't write as CO2, write in full, because you can see this is a word equation. So write plus carbon dioxide in words. Finally, question number 45, compare the distribution of stomata on the upper and lower epidermis of the leaf and give a reason for your answer. So you need to compare and then give a reason. So to compare, you will say the distribution of stomata on the lower epidermis is more than on the upper epidermis. So you will find out that in this diagram, the stomata are more on the lower epidermis than on the upper epidermis. And the reason is to reduce excessive water loss through what we call evaporation due to direct exposure to sunlight on the upper side. So that is the reason why we have more stomata on the lower epidermis than on the upper epidermis, to reduce excessive water loss through evaporation and even transpiration. Basically, that is the end of this paper. So we have covered section B. Thank you for watching. Please like and comment to this video. And also don't forget to subscribe for more educational content. See you in the next video. Best wishes.